Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today it's a lovely day to read some of the Quo material. Be sure to check out my previous episodes so you can have a greater understanding of who Quo is. These are entities channeled by LL Research that are a part of a social memory complex or a group of higher density beings. You don't have to even believe in any of that. The words are powerful. They teach about spiritual things, and we've gone over some amazing subjects. I can't wait to read today's to you. They're a little different than the other channelings, and for some reason these two channelings, they fit together perfectly. There's a question about the mark of the beast and what it means, and there's also a question about Mars, and so I wanted to go over them both. So we're going to talk about Mars and the mark of the beast. We begin with a channeling on March 21st, 2006. In a previous meditation, there was a mention of souls from Mars who were unable to finish their third density cycle there because of the destruction of their environment and who are now acting as stewards of this planet. Could you tell us about how many there are, and when did they come here, and what are the majority of them doing today? Carla Channeling says, "We are those known to you as the principle of Quo. Greetings in the love and the light of the one infinite creator in whose service we come to you this evening. It is a great privilege and a pleasure to be called to your circle of seeking, and we are honored to share our thoughts on your query this day, which has to do with those entities who came to Earth from the red planet Mars. We would, however, as always, ask of each who listens to or reads this material that each take responsibility for discriminating between those thoughts we share that have a meaning to you and seem resonant, and those thoughts that we share that do not hit the mark for you at all. If there's no resonance in the thoughts we share this day, please leave them behind. If you will agree to do that, we will feel free to speak with you without being concerned overly much for infringing upon your free will or interfering with the process of your evolution. We are happy to share information with you about those entities which came from the planet which you call Mars. We would, however, precede this information with a few words about our understanding concerning the importance of this information. We are those who greatly enjoy speaking concerning spiritual principles that may be of service to you in your seeking. Information concerning where the various populations of your planet come is fairly dry and mechanical information which we cannot infuse with a great deal of spiritual meaning except by the indirect references to what has occurred with those of the red planet, and to some extent as to why things might have fallen out the way they did. Therefore, we would ask you to seek this information concerning the what and the when of the immigration from the red planet in the knowledge that our voice is a voice of love. The details are never as important as the source of all the details, which is the one infinite creator. The love that created the planets and their courses and all the mysteries in the universe has also created each of you, regardless of whence you come or whither you go in the worlds of illusion which abound in creation. Therefore, no matter how interesting the details, we ask you to reserve a part of your thoughts for love itself, that great creator that has brought into manifestation all that is, including each of you, whether or not you might have at one time been a part of third density upon the red planet. We shall tell you a story about a series of populations that arrives at Earth for the purposes of joining in the experience of sharing third density with those few people who actually graduated as natives from second density Earth to the third density Earth. The first and the largest of these populations was that of Mars. The entities of Mars had made some decisions in the practice of governments upon their planet, which resulted in the nature of the surface of their planet changing from a planet which was relatively hospitable to third density physical vehicles to a planet which was not at all hospitable to third density vehicles. They were not able to finish the cycle of the density of choice in third density upon Mars. The guardians of this planet went before the Council of Saturn and asked for permission to move the population to Earth. The second density vehicles available for physical use upon planet Earth at that time were late second density grade 8 bodies, which the guardians felt might be improved upon by articulating facial features a bit more carefully, by altering the set of the body so it would be able to stand upright, and by improving the dexterity of the physical vehicle, especially in the hands, and by creating a larger capacity within the mind that came with the biological species. In essence, they created a new and improved great ape body, which looked a great deal like the one you are now enjoying. The Guardians at that time found within the space of several hundreds of your years, they had made what they considered an error in creating the new and improved version of the great ape body, used by the denizens from Mars and thereafter used by entering souls from planet Earth or from elsewhere, simply because it was indeed a new and improved physical vehicle that looked like it would be handier to use to the entering souls and their guidance systems. The Guardians' mistake was in creating better physical vehicle with the attitude that these physical vehicles were better and that the people that inhabited those physical vehicles were special. Naturally, the Guardians were very fond of the incoming population and felt great love for them, as they were placing them carefully and gently upon planet Earth to take up again their search for love. What they did not anticipate was that the people themselves would feel that they were special. They were aware that their intellect was more powerful than the other great ape species that inhabited the Earth at that time. They felt privileged and special, and they created within themselves an attitude of better than. The energy of the beings from the Red Planet was naturally somewhat progressive and fiery. They had demonstrated this aggression, this ability to wage war on their home planet, and had succeeded in destroying the surface of it as an acceptable environment for third density life. They carried these biases with them into third density upon this planet. The very beginning of your cycle of third density upon planet Earth was nearly 76,000 of your years ago by your counting. The Martian population incarnated in what you would call the Middle East and parts of Africa first, their thickest areas of population in that area of the planet. Gradually, they become the populations that you now know of as the Muslims, the Jewish people, the Palestinians, and other of Middle Eastern heritage. As the population settled in and began their cycles of reincarnation to gain experience and lessons of love, they spread out, becoming the populations that you now know as the Russian and Eastern Orthodox churches, the Christian Church and the Christian Protestant Church, as opposed to the Christian Roman Catholic Church. All of these populations are heavily larded with those originally from planet Mars. You will note that these entities comprise the bulk of those who believe in one God. The upside in the belief in one creator is that it is closer to that mystery of the creator than the solution which posits many gods. It is our understanding that all things are one, and the infinite creator is as single as its universe and creation. The downside in believing in one God is that belief that only if you believe in that one God and believe in a certain way shall your soul reach heaven. This creates a bias within the religious and oftentimes the political mind of those who so believe that there is their way or the highway, as this instrument would put it. You will note that in the Muslim church, the Christian church, and in the Church of the Jews, that there is a strong tendency to exclude certain of their members who do not believe specifically in the points of dogma in which they hold to be true. The tendency of this energy of belief in one God, then, has its challenging aspects when it comes to using that religion as a springboard for the lessons of love. If you will examine the writings that are the heart of any of those three religions, you will find a mystical understanding of unity that is very similar between those three churches. However, for the entity that is living an everyday life, the tendency with dogmatic churches is to be very exclusionary and judgmental, so that an entity is told basically, either you believe the way we believe or you are consigned to one of the circles of hell after you are dead. Well, they then feel that it is permissible and even desirable to proselytize and attempt to create that bias within those whom they meet. This nest or web of actions is basically the end result of the Guardians 75,000 years ago, making too many improvements on physical vehicles and creating pride and arrogance as a birthright of the new and improved human species. You may still see those energies playing themselves out in your Earth world at this time. What are those of Mars doing these days? As the one known as Jay said jokingly earlier, they are running your countries, parking your cars, taking care of your children, and doing every other human thing you can think of, for there are millions and millions of those who came from Mars. They are, as are all of those within third density at this time, striving to learn the lessons of love. Many of those who come from the Red Planet have earned the right to graduate into fourth density. They have achieved that shift in consciousness from fear to love, from war to peace, from doubt to faith, and from despair to hope. There is no stigma in being from Mars any more than there is a stigma to anyone from being born of a certain genetic heritage. It is not that the physical vehicle that you inhabit is unimportant. It should be honored, respected, and loved, for it has given its life so that you and your consciousness may walk the planet and learn the lesson that you came to learn. It is that body whose hands reach out to do the service you would do for your fellow human being. It is that voice that sings the praises of the one infinite creator. Without your body, you would be unable to have incarnation. At the same time, it is not well to identify entirely with the body that carries you about, for the body that is carelessly used and not just appreciated will tend to wish to rule over the mind and spirit. It has strong instincts, not because of genetic changes, but because of the inherent second density heritage. It wishes instinctually to mate, to form a clan for family, to gather resources so that the clan may live, and to protect those resources and, if necessary, defend them to the death. We may note that in our humble opinion, some of the actions of your governments at this time fall solidly under the influences of those instincts. You are at the end of your third density, moving into that time of graduation. Those who do not choose to graduate will necessarily fall back to the instincts to late second density as they prepare to start another third density cycle elsewhere. We would ask each of you, with a resonance with the history of those of Mars, do you wish to take a leap forward to wake up from the dream of hostility? If so, then you have every necessary capacity and have probably already made the choice to turn your back on violence and negativity and to choose love as your expression, your being, and your goal. We encourage you to trust yourself and to give all that you have into making the shift. It is not too late. The decision to choose love is a matter of a heartbeat. Each decision to choose love is a matter of a heartbeat. We move to a channeling given on February 15th, 1987. And they ask about the mark of the beast, as mentioned in the Bible, what it might be, what it means to people, and so forth. Carla channeling, I am Quo, and I greet you in the love and light of the one infinite creator. Upon the subject of the mark of the beast, this instrument wished us luck before she gave over control of the speaking mechanism to us, and we do indeed feel lucky to be able to speak with you about evil, for surely the mark of the beast is only a symbol for that which is evil. Indeed, the mind often thinks in symbols rather than turning to the essence of things. To be literal, which is, of course, one level of answering the question, the mark of the beast, it being 666, is a triple number rooted in the Kabbalistic traditions of your Eastern peoples. Within that tradition, the number 6 refers to the house of mundane things. The number 6 has connotations concerning finances, wealth, security, and survival. If one has a penchant for luxury, the number 6 might be expected to figure in a numerological analysis of such an entity's name or birth date. When a number is doubled, it is the same number but stronger, and when it is tripled, it is very strong. Thus, the number 666 is literally the things of this world. Thus, the mark of the beast is symbolized by a number which connotes your present experience. Lift your thoughts with me, and let us look at this world of yours that is full of symbols of the evil of the beast. Here a daisy, there a lark, here a thinking youth, and there a smiling woman. These things do not seem outwardly evil, yet for those who gaze upon the beast, the mark can be found, for the illusion is yours, and each of you may choose to interpret what lies before you as you will. It is possible through description to cause the same scene to appear quite wonderful, or quite the opposite by the careful use of detail. We might point out, for instance, instead of a flower, one of your refuse heaps, instead of a smiling woman, a hungry child. The choice of symbols is always yours, nor is the beast strong within one who chooses positively oriented symbols to facilitate the interpretation of catalyst. What we are attempting to do is to indicate to you our feelings concerning prophecy. The mark of the beast is one of many symbols used within an inspired work of channeling done by the one named John. Much of this entity's effort was involved not in offering universal symbology, but rather in sending covert information concerning specific events and entities to those known to the one known as John. The work has inspired and overawed many, yet seldom has the deeper symbology been penetrated to discover the balance of the present moment. Such is the greatest danger of prophecy and symbology. Whatever one thinks about evil, One must cause one's thinking to become twisted and biased in order to accommodate the eccentric symbology of the beast, its mark, its unusual body design, and its various foes. Perhaps this has kept some from gazing upon the essence of the beast. The essence of the beast lies within each heart and within each mind. The essence of the beast is the power of denial, just as the essence of love is the power of acceptance. So the essence of evil is the perfect ability to deny what is true and believe what is false. Thus, evil has far less to do, for instance, with money than with less than straightforwardness in gathering, keeping, and spending money. One who is seeking the essence of the positive seeks more and more to offer the self in service. One who wishes evil may seem to offer service to others, yet always there is some denial of free will, some rejection of some aspect of universal love, some implied or stated separation between you and some other. The one who looks for advantages at another's expense is a far clearer symbol of the beast than a number. It has been said among your group this evening that as you sit in meditation, you live in the experience of the age of the beast, the age of universal credit and the rule of many by numbers. Remember that it is not the symbol that has power, but the essences that give the symbols power. The evil which lies within your monetary systems is an evil, that is to say a lie, which has been with you since the first money was used to make money rather than trading being done between two entities which had use of each other's surplus. This essence of money being artificial power is an evil essence by definition. However, the technology of your age, my children, is neither good nor evil, but a tool used for good or ill. Would that we could guide you to one writing which made all things clear, one set of symbols in which there was no doubt of clear meaning, no confusion as to extraneous detail. We cannot, for there is no construction made of words and concepts which is not also a group of symbols, and in the end, that which you know of good and evil abide not in symbols but in essences. Essences are felt by the deepest heart and mind of an entity, so that there is recognition and knowingness of that which is, shall we say, morally pleasing and morally distasteful. As you gaze upon this age, which many find full of lies and therefore evil, look upon the essences of people, relationships, and the stewardship of that which is seemingly evil, money, and find within yourself the positive truth affirming, life-affirming characteristics and attributes of people, relationships, and stewardship which can be brought to bear upon each and every situation. For this is not an age. This, my children, is your age, and no mark of any beast can shape the rhythm of your own creation. That there are highly motivated, negatively oriented angelic spirits is as true as that there are highly polarized and motivated positive angelic entities. We have no desire to play down the loyal opposition which challenges us and makes us learn to be strong. We wish only to correct any tendency towards feeling that one is in the grip of evil or in any way limited or governed by the apparent worldview. To many, this is indeed the age of the beast. We find this among the peoples, this attitude of many greatly disturbed, greatly in pain, but accepting many symbols as essences, knowing that love created all, and that the original thought of love forms the heart of all that there is. We ask you to be satisfied only with the essences of things. Thus may you find sunshine in dark places. Thus may your discrimination steer you from unexpected shadows which others may not see. It is your experience, your creation, your living. We ask you to join with us in seeking the Creator, without fear and with an ever-mounting desire to touch again and again the wonderful light-filled mystery of consciousness. And now, because we have talked about a heavy word, a weighty, sad word, this symbol of despair that is evil, let us lighten our meditation before we move on. Let us release this question, for it troubles this instrument and may trouble others. Let us turn to gaze upon the mark of the angels. That would be, my children, accept a smile. What is the truth and symbol of the truth? Except a look of joy. For that which is love. We leave you in that love and in the light, and would speak with you further through the one known as Jim. Jim begins channeling, and they ask the question, is the basic denial that exists on this plane, is that basically just the denial that we are God, and that our own will is one, and the same will of God? Is that the basic denial that's kept us separated from the one God all this time? I am Quo, and we find that query which you have asked is one which covers a great deal of territory and experience within your illusion. If we may look upon the population of your planet's third density illusion, we see that the great veil of forgetting, which separates the conscious from the unconscious mind, is that which effectively brings about a condition which you may in your terminology call a denial of sight. This sight is that which is most inward and outward, seeking from the nature of the creation in which an entity finds itself. If we are to look upon the primary means of perceiving the creation and its meaning for those of your third density, we might take that denial of which you have spoken and describe it rather as the inability to perceive the unity of all creation, the infinity which is the foundation, the current reality, and what you would call a future experience for all those of the third density illusion. Thus, this inability to see the connected nature of all things, all thoughts, is a denial, which indeed allows an entity to consider itself separate from and outside the influence of that power which you call God or the Creator. This seeming separation or denial or lack of perception creates a condition which an entity may learn a variety of lessons which will eventually provide an opportunity for the integrating of each individual lesson with the wholeness of not only the greater self which resides beyond the veil of forgetting, but the selves of all creatures and things about one in the creation and indeed with the Creator itself. Thus, the perception is limited in order that work might be done with limited boundaries that would not be possible should the boundaries not exist, and the sight penetrate infinity, and thus make the experiment of limitations that which is obvious to those who see with far-seeing eyes. With the impossibility of such limitation, there is also the lack of opportunity, for the experience of the Creator is an individualized form. This individualized form is that which each third density takes up in order that there might be a greater experience and glorification provided for the one Creator through each individual. Question. Yeah, I have one ideal on this thing, and that is, if we entertain thoughts of this mark as such and all, would that actually prevent or hold us from being fourth density material? I assume that this is right. If we continue to entertain bad thoughts or evil thoughts rather than positive thoughts, is this right? I am Quo, and my brother, though there is a tendency towards correctness in your supposition, the simplicity of its statement is that which we would hesitate in accepting as correct. For it is indeed true that the focus of one's attention determines where one shall find the opportunity for lessons and services. The focus of one's attention, in a general context, if it rests upon the appearance of things, is destined to move from that which seems separate and perhaps threatening to yet another portion of experience that seems separate from the self, and perhaps again threatening to the self. For all the creation about one within your illusion seems to be quite removed from the individual experience, without cohesion, without rhythm, and without harmony. Yet if one directs the attention and the desire to know the nature of things beyond the exterior appearances of things, and begins to move into the heart of all things and thought and activity, one may with a focused attention begin to harmonize the individual perception of each portion of the creation which surrounds one, thus bringing into a coherent pattern various portions of the creation which, with renewed dedication of seeking, begin to fit as one part of a puzzle, fitting into another and another and another, so that the creation one perceives begins to take on a form and a feeling and a purpose, and an experience of unity becomes more and more possible for such a seeker and such a focused point of viewing that creation about it. Thus, my brother, when looking upon any portion of the creation which surrounds one, it is well to note not only the exterior appearance and action of things, events, and peoples, but to begin to move beyond those appearances within one's thinking and perceiving, so that the common features and feelings of rhythms and tones may become apparent, as well as layer upon layer of meaning is discovered. The simplicity and unity of all portions of the creation become more apparent to one who seeks in this manner. And thus, as the unified nature of the creation becomes apparent to such an entity, and the entity begins to move in harmony with the power, the creative power of love, which is found to move all things, then one more and more readies the self for the graduation, as you've called it, into that density of love and understanding, where the veils are removed and the Creator more clearly stands before the entity in all experience. Question. I have a question in reference to the number 6 pertaining to numerology, as in a person's name. If there is an absence of 6, is this significant, and if so, in what way? I am Quo, and we are not completely sure if our grasp of your query is sufficient. Please re-query if our response is not sufficient. The numbering that is apparent within any entity's naming or date of birth is a symbol which opens, shall we say, the roadmap in a certain area of the entity's life to the entity's viewing, in order that perhaps the wide and narrow portions of the road might be seen and given appropriate attention. Whether one or another number is present or missing is a portion of the entity's roadmap, the presence or absence of which adds or subtracts certain characteristics or possibilities for that entity. Thus, the numerological understanding of an entity's significant nature provides the symbolic form that the entity has chosen in order to express certain characteristics and to allow opportunities for certain lessons within a certain incarnation. Question. I wonder if you would help me in my teaching. I suspect one of my students, a girl named W, of having an entity present. I have challenged the entity. It seems to be a positively oriented entity. It's not of the Confederation, and I can't get its name, but I expect W could. Now, can I help this channel to develop in such a way that the entity has the best chance of making a good, safe, positive contact with this entity, which seems to be a helpful entity, without setting her up for it? You don't have to tell me how to do it without setting it up for it, if that's something I have to figure out, but any tips that you could give me on how to work with this situation would be helpful. I haven't run into it before. I'm Quo, and with this query we find that we must step carefully in order that we do not cross the line of free will choices, which is reserved in a sacred fashion for each seeker to move within itself. The entity of which you speak, the one known as W, has, as you have surmised, both the ability to serve as a vocal instrument in a pronounced fashion and the opportunity to do so in a manner which is moving towards its appropriate expression. As to your role in this process, we can only reaffirm, my sister, those techniques which you have utilized in a successful fashion in previous teachings, combined with the greater reliance upon the intuition which we find that you have also exercised in the recent meditation sessions with this entity. This is an opportunity not only for this new student to learn its service, but also is an opportunity for the teacher to expand the abilities in the teaching. The techniques are familiar to you. The reliance upon the intuition is that which is newer in your experience, and that which we might suggest holds the greater opportunity at this time for your service, not only to this particular new instrument, but in your service as a teacher of the vocal channeling service as well. Question. I've always wondered about and never had a satisfactory answer to, why is everybody so fascinated with the mark of the beast? I mean, people are anywhere in this culture. People from all different Christian and non-Christian viewpoints, very extreme, are actually interested in that. I am Quo, and my sister, we find that the simplicity of the query moved into an area which is not as simple to provide an answer for. The feeling for power and the ability to affect events and people is that which fascinates many of your population. Your population exists within an illusion in which many individual entities move and participate in the rituals of gathering wealth, position, respect, and power of various kinds. It seems to many of your population that the gathering of power in whatever form and for whatever reason is an activity in which all wish to excel in some manner, whether the power be social, financial, religious, or spiritual, or simply the power over entities in one's own family or neighborhood. There is a feeling within many of your population that in some way greater and greater power may be had by those who know certain secrets that will reveal unto them procedures or techniques for gathering such power unto themselves. Many see the power of well-known figures, or the power that is spoken of in many of your holy works, and make connections between the events of your world and the events that seem to be quite beyond the mundane experience. It is felt by many that the life which is lived upon this planetary sphere is a life which prepares one for a greater life that shall become apparent when the earth life is finished. And yet the power-filled nature of the creation and those who move within it continues to fascinate many who wish to feel not just a glimpse, shall we say, of such power, but wish to partake fully in it themselves. Thus, when speaking of greater and greater powers are heard, entities begin to connect these speakings with the feelings that such powers are available only to a few who have certain secrets revealed unto them. Thus, the concepts of the dark force that is embodied within speakings of the beast, as it is called, bring not only the conscious mind images of the very nature of creation itself, but draw through the subconscious mind the faintly remembered connection that each entity has with the entire creative power of love of the one creator. The experience within your illusion for each entity is one in which there is in some form the attempt to reconcile the powers of light and the powers of darkness in order that a unified perception of all the creation might be achieved. The darker expressions of power, being by their very nature secret and separate, seem more fascinating than the obvious brilliance and power of light manifested as love, and through such mysterious and secret fascination attract the attention of many, such as the latest gossip attracts the attention of those who speak over the backyard fence. We apologize for the difficulty we had in transmitting these concepts through this instrument, but we find this instrument's mind is somewhat furnished with information which prejudges that which we have to offer, and we have not been overly successful, shall we say, in providing a response to your query. I am Quo, and we wish to thank once again each of you, each present, for inviting our presence in your circle of seeking this evening. We are greatly honored to be asked to speak our humble words to a group of seekers which is as faithful as those gathered here this evening. We wish to remind each that we offer but our opinions which are fallible and filled with error. Do not hesitate to leave those behind which do not ring true. At this time we shall take our leave of this group, thanking each once again for allowing us to join you. We are known to you as those of Quo. As always, we leave each in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Adonai, my friends. Adonai, Vasu, Boragas. So I found these two channelings just uniquely interesting. They're questions I've had. I wanted to know what Quo had to say about the book of Revelation, and their analysis of the mark of the beast is interesting. We've talked about the 666 through Neville Goddard, and now we get a little bit of discussion from Quo. It is symbolic and it's Kabbalistic, and it's not important, but it's interesting what they had to say. And there is a fascination in the book of Revelation, which almost becomes a sort of spiritual sickness sometimes. I talk to people that are completely obsessed with it and give it much more power than it's worth. I definitely recommend you check out my episode on Edgar Casey's interpretation of the book of Revelation, being that it's all symbolic. The beast is you, and everything that's happening in that wonderful work is talking about the awakening of your chakras and the dying of your ego, which is truly your beast. I'm also super fascinated by discussions of the history of our solar system, in particular Mars, that millions of people are living on this planet that come from a planet they destroyed, that we can see in our solar system. And it's interesting, Mars has always had a unique part of our culture. It comes up all the time in books and materials. We're traveling to it, we're researching it, and I'm fascinated. Believe it or not, it's just fascinating. If there was an entire planet of people living there that destroyed themselves and that are living here now, it tells you a lot about the people living on Earth. The Earth experiment is quite unique and different in that it is made up of a number of different incarnations, people who have incarnated from planets like Maldek and Mars that destroyed their planets. And you can see it in the wars and the weird stuff we have happening today and throughout our history, and is a part of our own spiritual growth and understanding. You may have come from Mars. You may have been the one that pushed the button that destroyed that planet. And you are still going to graduate either to fourth density negative or positive at some point in time. And you're going through this process. What you did or experienced on that planet is a part of your learning experience now. I'm very fascinated by the fact that they talked about the bodies that we were given and that we became sort of arrogant with the amount of knowledge that we had. I'd love to know your favorite part of these channelings. There's always something interesting that comes up. In any case, you can find all the Quo episodes in the Quo playlist and all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. I'm sending love and light to everyone that is listening. and welcome to the Reality Revolution.